Come on, sir. Come on through.
Oh.
Do you have anything metal in your pocket?
Oh, I don't know, but I have this. Sorry. Let me just put this in here, and I'll fire right back through.
Please come through.
Okay. Oh.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think probably my belt has this metal thing on the front. Sorry, I haven't traveled in a while, so it's been a minute since I've done this.
Yep.
Sorry.
Please come on through.
Okay. Oh.
I'm going to have to pat you down.
Oh, okay.
What's this?
Oh,
in
yeah,
your pocket?
that's my insulin pump. I have type 1 diabetes, so let me just unclip this real quick from my leg. Yeah, I need to travel with that.
Okay, come on.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
There's something long and slender and metal in your pocket.
Yeah. Oh, that's my insulin pen. I don't usually travel with this, but that's just in case my pump doesn't work.
Okay,
I gotta do that too.
Come on through, please.
Okay. Oh, that's odd.
There's something in this pocket right here.
Yep. You know what? Now that you say it, yeah, that's my continuous glucose monitor receiver. So I sometimes travel with that. So sorry.
All right, come on through. All right.
Oh, weird.
Can you turn around, please?
Yeah.
There's like a little metal object in the back of your arm.
That's my continuous glucose monitor. It's attached to me. It doesn't come off.
It doesn't come off.
No.
You're going to have to remove your shirt, please.
What's that?
Please remove your shirt.
Take off my shirt?
Yes.
Really? That doesn't seem right. But okay.
Sir, there are people waiting in line.
Okay.
Go through again, please.
Okay.
Come on through.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
There's something small, really small down here.
Yeah, that's my infusion set for my insulin pump.
I suppose that doesn't come off either.
No, it doesn't.
Please remove your pants.
Are you kidding me? Hey, I don't have any underwear on today.
That's not my problem.
All right, fine. Is this what you want?
Have a nice flight, sir.
All right, hi everybody. I am Jeremy Pettus.
Steve Edelman.
And, I got my clothes back on after I just got abused by the TSA to talk about traveling with type 1 diabetes. And this is an important topic for a lot of reasons. First of all, if something is going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong when you're traveling. It's like Murphy's Law, right? I mean, it just seems like it happens every time.
Every time.
And then the second thing is like, the pandemic, things are starting to open up again. People are starting to travel again. People want to travel again, going on trips. I just went up to Sacramento to see my parents a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't traveled in so long that I was like, how do I do this? What do I need? How do I do it? All those kinds of things. Any intro talk?
You know what? I'm rusty too.
Yeah.
I have not traveled anywhere since February of last year. And I'll tell you what, there's so many things you have to remember. And like you said, Jeremy, something that never happens when you're running around and you're near your home happens on your trip.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen to me, it happens to you, and then you call me up.
And I text you and say, I hope you have this because I forgot it. So that brings us to the most important point, is making a list. So first of all, we're going to go through the whole travel process, from packing, going to the airport, getting on the airplane, all those things. But 90% of it is being prepared and making sure you have all the stuff you need. And there's a lot of stuff that we need, and you have to get that all with you.
Having a list is key. It may sound dorky, laminate it, put it up, put it in your suitcase, but it makes a huge difference because when you're in a rush, you forget stuff.
Yeah. And if you're, under 60 years old, you can have a list on your phone. You don't have to print it out and laminate it. And I'm not a list maker, but I really rely on this because I always forget things without my list. So let's just go back and forth. Grab an item, something that you have to have when you travel. You want to start?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start off with some of the basics, which is my clothes. Stack them up here, and of course, workout clothes. Underwear. And I'm going to talk about the regular stuff. And one more thing before you go is I did buy a pair of really thin, light tennis shoes, which are really easy to pack. Nothing like those big dorky tennis shoes that have great soles, and but they take up half the space of your suitcase. And look at the little notes my girlfriend leaves for me now. This is about 3 years old. Now she writes, good riddance.
So, I got my PJs, I got my, Optimus Prime shirt that I wear all the time. But I think the exercise clothes is good. Like it's great because the other thing about travel in general is that your blood sugars can just go to hell. You're sleeping differently, you're eating differently, you're up at different hours, time zones, all that kind of stuff. So trying to stay on some kind of schedule, exercising, it's tough to do, but it's really helpful when you can do it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen our video on how to eat 3 donuts and stay in range, you need exercise equipment when you're approaching that 180. Do that little bolus or inhalation and run out there and run around the parking lot.
All right, so it's my turn now?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to get into diabetes stuff. Do you have any more non-diabetes stuff?
I have some toiletries and stuff, but why don't you go ahead? I'll get
All
this.
right. So, first thing I have, or not in any particular order, is just pump supplies. So both of us, use insulin pumps currently, and we're anticipating that, let's say this is like a 3-day trip. Take twice, if not 3 times as many things as you need. Because again, if you're going to have an infusion set blow out or something, it's going to happen when you travel. So if you're going for a 3-day trip, just take 3 of these. These don't take up much space. This is the sets. These are the reservoirs. Making sure you have lots of those packed. Do you have that?
Well, I'll tell you what. I wear the Omnipod, and each pod lasts 3 days. And so if I'm going to go on a trip for 3 days, theoretically, the one you're wearing is not too old, hopefully, and then 2 of them. But I tell you what, whenever I go on a trip, I get like a bad pod.
Yeah.
Or I walk by a door and it rips off.
Right.
And then you're getting down to like 1 pod left. And, so it's important. And I have my little places in each suitcase where I keep these.
You got your pod pouch.
Yep.
Got it. All right, why don't you go again?
Okay.
Since I started.
Well, here's the thing. If something happens, I am looping. Let's say my cell phone goes out. I can't control my Omnipod with my phone anymore. I always bring fast and long-acting insulin pens. Now, each of these are like, oh yeah, expired 4 years ago. But they still work to some degree. And you don't want to be stuck with, you can't get the insulin out of your pump. And I always bring extra pen needles because if you've ever tried to get insulin out of a pen that you haven't used for a while, of course, everyone leaves their needles in there, it aggregates and it clots. You can't get anything out. Yeah. And then I don't have it here, but I should have just a syringe. You can always suck insulin out of these devices. Yeah. That's key. I can't tell you how important it is to have the ability to not rely on your pump.
Yeah, so I am going to continue that conversation because I have long and then I have short acting, which in this case was a vial. But having the needles and the syringes is just as important because I have traveled with long-acting insulin before and not had a needle or a syringe, and then you're like, I can't use this. So having this, in case your pump goes bad is really important. And also, you need to know what your dose is of long-acting insulin. So your pump goes out, if you're on a pump, how much basal insulin do I need to take every day? You should know that so you can kind of quickly transition from your pump to your...
So how would you calculate that out?
So you basically just look at what your total basal insulin is from your pump, and you can start by using that dose, maybe a little bit more. And keep in mind that if you are going from a pump to basal insulin, it can take a couple days for that basal insulin to kind of kick in. So for those first couple days of that transition, you might be running a little bit higher.
Yeah, and I would say that's especially true with Tresiba or Toujeo.
Yeah.
That's one reason I carry Lantus with me. The Tresiba and Toujeo work much better in type 1s, but Lantus starts working much quicker.
Yeah, it actually is a better basal insulin for that transition.
Yeah, and then of course go back to what you're on later on. But I do think that when you're traveling, I don't care if you're transitioning on and off of different insulin regimens, you got to look at your blood sugar and having I've had patients that say, oh, I didn't test on my vacation, and I said, well, that's the time that you probably need to test more, not less.
And the other thing I'm thinking is, forget about something going wrong with your pump. Vacation might be a time that you want to transition anyways. I'm actually going to Hawaii for a family kind of reunion in July, and I think I'll stop using my pump then because I'm going to be in and out of the water all day long. You're on a pod, that's not so much of a problem.
Well, your control really sucks.
It goes to hell, but that's all right. So along those lines, I'm not taking your turn here, Steve. In here, I have just constantly all my syringes and pen needles that are in here in my toiletry bag, so they're always with me.
Yeah, and I'll just bring out my toiletry bag. Also, don't forget for us folks that wear ties, we got the tie holder.
Okay.
So it doesn't get wrinkled.
Yeah.
I got my toiletry bag with all the usual stuff that you talked about. And I also have another bag from the olden days when United used to give good little bags when you flew business class. And in here is a lot of different things that I always seem to miss if I don't have them. Tums. I take, Ambien if there's a time zone change, antacids. I have lip balm, and I have just over-the-counter stuff that I typically need, and that's a whole nother container. So I'm there. And let me say one more thing, is that we didn't talk about Afrezza yet, but I always try to bring some Afrezza that's fairly fresh from the fridge, because what do you eat when you're on vacation? Stuff that you shouldn't eat, or drink too.
So you made me think of something when you said time zones. That's important.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you're changing time zones, not to get ahead of ourselves, but you got to change the time on your pump. Because for me, I have sleep modes set at different times. You have different basal programs. And especially if your time zone is more than 3 hours ahead, like you go to Europe, you're 10 hours different. You want to make sure that you switch the time in your pump. And then if you're taking shots, if you're on Tresiba and Toujeo, it's not really a problem. Just keep taking it at night, regularly, because it is so long acting that that time zone thing's less of an issue. So I want to throw my Afrezza in here too, because I agree. If I'm going to eat some weird stuff, it's going to be when I'm traveling, pizza, beer, whatever.
You got the big.
I just want 12s, like the big stuff. So I throw those in there with my inhaler, just to always have to bring my blood sugars down kind of quickly. So, all right, let me go. So this one, I kind of did on purpose. I got my apple juice.
Well, you did it once on for real.
Yeah. So this is my go-to low treatment of choice. However, obviously we can't bring this much liquid through, the TSA. And I've done this multiple times. I've had to pull out my bag. It's a big problem to throw it away. So I don't bring apple juice. I always bring glucose tabs. And that's something that I actually keep in my carry-on bag, which I have here. So, usually I might actually carry this on too, but this is much easier to get. I have it right here in this pocket, or at least I actually put it right here. And I keep it right here in this pocket. So it's something when I'm on the plane, I have with me the whole time.
Well, what was the time that you were so upset that you didn't want to throw it out, and instead you let them search you from top to bottom and you had to go to the side?
Well, if you tell them that you have diabetes, they'll let you get your juice, your soda or whatever, but then you have to go do the whole thing.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I got, I have glucose tabs, but I do have a little container here that I keep in my suitcase. And by the way, I never check the suitcase, because just think if they lost your suitcase with all your pump supplies. But it's nice to have stuff handy in your backpack underneath the seat. And I like Fig Newtons. So does Jeremy's son, and got low carb snacks. I don't bring a ton of stuff.
Well, you used to have a big Ziploc bag. And actually, we would go to the little lounge, and Steve would clean them out with the peanuts and stuff and throw them in there. So we always had snacks.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
Starburst, and to try to pick stuff that tastes good. I like glucose. Glucose tabs work fast. The other thing I use, if any of you guys have ever used GU, GU, it's these little packets of chocolate espresso goop, different flavors. I take them when you go cycling. They work really fast, and there's only 100 calories, and they're small, easy, flexible containers. So whatever you use, use it to raise your blood sugar quickly.
All right, my next one is probably the most commonly forgotten item when people travel, and it's potentially one of the most important, and that is cords and cables. So this is actually the charging thing I use at home, which is like a little charger pad for my iPad, and then my watch goes here. So I bring this whole thing, and then I can put my little AirPods there too. Because if your iPhone goes dead, you're screwed.
Well, you don't plug it in, you just lay it on top?
Well, I plug it in and I just lay the phone right there. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I got my pump charger here because you need to charge your pump. Now, the reason these are the most commonly forgotten items is because we can pack usually the night before, a couple days before, but you're going to be using these things generally the night before you leave, and it can be something that you don't already have in your bag, so you have to remember to grab these things. And it's so important that I always have an extra iPhone charger and pump charger in my carry-on bag just to have with me at all times. So You got cords, cables?
Yeah, I do. And the other thing I was just going to say is it's always good to get an extra set so you don't have to worry about,
For sure.
Especially if you travel a lot. But that's where the list comes in handy too.
Oh, for sure.
Because when you're leaving the hotel room.
Yeah.
Do it.
You know, you laminate it, you print it out, you got dry erase markers, whatever you want.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I like hard lists. Okay. And I just got all the cords because my old Riley link used to require a USB, and now I do have the new Riley link that's battery, so I don't need that. But I also have to charge my regular monitor that I still use my Dexcom monitor in addition to my phone, because I don't like to pull out my phone a lot when I'm in a meeting. They think you're rude. And then, of course, the iPhone. Well, a quick word about overseas. We might as well mention it now.
Okay.
Right now, the show's not long enough to talk about what you have to prep when you go outside the U.S., but you got to call the airlines and find out from the hotel you're staying at what kind of chargers they are. And every country has different rules and regs with COVID too. You might need to get a positive test within a day of leaving. So you just got to do a lot of prep with traveling outside the U.S.
All right, Cgm Supplies, I just have a whole box here as an example, but I take extras as the point. So obviously these are good for 10 days each, so I'm like the whole 30-day supply. The important tip is when you get home, make sure you take all the extra stuff out, and put it back in your usual spot so you don't, waste sensors or whatever.
Yeah, the one thing that'll wreck your trip, you won't be able to check your blood sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I'm on pills. You're not. When you're my age, you might need Cialis or something, but this is like blood pressure, cholesterol. I make sure I have extra, and I carry that in my backpack. Also, you talked about fluids. A really good thing to drink, to bring with you are small,
low calorie, like low carb beverages, basically.
Yeah, and this is like, check this out. It's like whiskey, Japanese whiskey.
Okay.
It's less than 4 ounces. No one bugs you about it. And not that I'm a big drinker or anything, but it's a lot less expensive than paying for the drink in the hotel refrigerator.
Now, hold on.
Sorry.
I'm here too.
Okay.
So we're talking about testing your blood
getting all
sugars.
excited about going somewhere.
Geez Louise. So we talked about your CGM, and like you said, if you're going to lose a sensor or pod it's going to have on a trip, and I've multiple times run out of sensors, your transmitter goes dead, you have to have your meter with you. This is something else I keep in my actual bag. The old-fashioned blood sugar strips. I have a vial of insulin and syringe in here also. So if anything goes wrong, I keep this in the other pocket right next to my glucose tabs and this actual thing right here.
And that bag is heavy.
It's got my computer in it and just some bricks.
I've lifted it before.
Yeah.
I have a backpack,
Yeah.
All
right, you want to get your thing? What's
yeah, well, I think the other thing is you got to remember that you always should bring something for, severe hypoglycemia. Now, I do have a Gvoke pen here. There's also Baqsimi, which is nasal glucagon.
That's what I got here.
Okay, perfect. Here's the thing. Do you ever give this to yourself? It's possible that you're still able and mentating, but your blood sugar's dropping. You've already eaten a ton. You're kind of worried you're not going to be able to consume enough carbohydrates, and you can give yourself either of these to yourself. Also, if you're sleeping with someone that night, you can teach them how to use it real quickly in case you can't give it yourself. So
having that and telling whoever you're with that you have that is important.
Yeah, just like you tell your wife and girlfriend at other times.
So I just have Advil here because I always, if you're going to get sore and achy, it's going to happen on a trip. So that's something I always carry with me.
Yeah, and I got
how all your other medications, and toiletries and stuff like that, toothbrush, of course. All right, so I think we're packed, and keep in mind that I don't really have anything else in my bag besides diabetes stuff, and my bag is almost full. So it takes a lot of preparation to plan ahead, make the list. But if you do plan ahead and something goes wrong, you're going to be way better off for it, because nothing's worse than feeling like you don't have what you need especially when you're far away, you're not at your pharmacy, etc.
Yeah, and I don't even have a jacket in here. Like if I'm going someplace cold, you're leaving San Diego, so your suitcase can get pretty packed.
Yeah,
and that's where TSA PreCheck is helpful, because they don't hassle you on the size that much when you go through. You might have it at the door of getting on the airplane.
So let's talk about that. So we're packed. We get to the airport. We're excited. We got our boarding pass already printed out and or on our phone. And we go to TSA, And a couple questions that come up. People will say, do I need a note from my doctor that says I have diabetes, I have these diabetes supplies, like whatever. What do you think?
No.
Yeah, you really don't.
They never ask you.
Yeah, they never ask. I've never been asked once. They're very familiar, actually, with diabetes now, or at least they'll pretend to be. So I've never had that be like an issue. Like, what is this?
But you know what annoys me?
What?
When my patients ask me for a letter. I say, will you write me the letter? I'll sign it.
Yeah,
but they really don't. If you're going outside the country, okay.
Right.
But, you know, I would say this. The TSA folks are pretty knowledgeable about diabetes.
So, all right, you've got the metal detector and you got this thing that like goes around. Like, which one should we go through? Does it matter with all your equipment? What do you think?
Oh, gosh, there's a big difference for me. The metal detector is way better because I wear the Omnipod, wherever it is. It's up here. It doesn't set off the alarm of the metal detector. But when I go into the little scanner, every single time they say, you know, what's that thing on your shoulder? And
Right.
and then they scan it. And then a lot of times someone has to search you. And very rarely are you delayed, but it's still a hassle every time. So pre-check for me is double. You don't, the lines aren't as long and whip through.
Take the time to look into getting TSA pre-check. You know, you can get it for 5 years. Global entry, you can get it for 10 years. It doesn't take that much time to set it up. So worth it. Nobody has to mess with your stuff. You get to go through the metal detector. For me, this thing, it picks up my Dexcom, which I wear right here on my leg. And they always think it's something in my pocket.
So you have to pull down your pants?
Well, sometimes.
Well, you have to be pretty free doing that.
I know. Sometimes I did it earlier. Everybody saw. But, you know, then they're grabbing this, trying to like get it out of my pocket and stuff. I had them rip it off once, actually. It was annoying. But then they got to do the little like bomb detector hand thing or like whatever. It just takes more time. So, but when I go through the metal detector, my pump has a metal clip on it. So we'll set that off, which is kind of annoying. But I just leave it on and have them like wipe down my hands. It doesn't take that long. The pumps and everything, they can go through the scanners. They can go through anything. So it's really not really a problem. People always ask, is it going to break the pump or the meter or anything like that? It's fine.
Well, do you recommend disconnecting your pump when you go through? I know some people do that.
You can. It just depends on like your personal preference. For me, you know, again, I wear it on my leg. It's kind of hard to get off. If I wore it on my stomach, I probably would just unclip it and put it in the bin and then clip it back on. But it's personal preference.
Yeah. And then... you know, I just say different strokes for different folks because, you know, I wear the Omnipod. It's a different experience. But I think you have to remember that when you wear a pump with a clip, it's going to set it off. In the older pumps, it was easy to take on and off the clip. Yeah. I noticed with the Tandem, it is a little more difficult.
Well, I super glued mine, you know, so it's not coming off.
Super glue will set it up.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're on the plane. Anything to think about with blood sugars on the plane you want to talk about?
Well, I'll just say, you know, it's good to have stuff within your own reach.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one quick story as we're getting near the end. I was sitting on the plane. My backpack was up above because I didn't have any room, and I was getting low. And we're sitting on the tarmac. So I finally called the stewardess because you weren't allowed to get out of your chair at this point. And I said, "Hey, I'm a diabetic. Can you get me a Coke?" I said, "I'm getting low," and it took her forever. She finally comes back. And I'm sweating, and she goes, "Is diet okay?" And I just stood up, despite breaking the rules, got my stuff out of the top and got my sugar. So, you know, you're dealing with people that may not be that knowledgeable. Yeah. Just have all your stuff in your backpack or your purse right then and there. And I guess the most urgent thing would be hypoglycemia.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been there too, getting low. In the window seat, you feel like you can't get out. So now I always try to have something either in my bag under my seat or in the little pocket in front, so I just feel good that I know I can get it kind of quickly.
One quick sophisticated question is, I've heard people talk about the pressure change in going up and down can cause problems with insulin delivery from people who wear pumps.
Yeah. I mean, for short flights, it's not really an issue. Some people say for longer flights, like coming down, they'll notice that their blood sugars will be a little bit higher. Some people even actually recommend like unclipping and killing a few units to your pump to kind of clear any air bubbles or something like that. Wow. I've done that before, but mostly I just kind of leave it be.
Just keep an eye on your blood sugar.
So last thing, let's say you get to wherever you're going to go. You've done it you can to prepare as much as possible, but you drop your last vial of insulin and it cracks and all that insulin goes out on the floor. That's actually happened to me. You don't have any insulin on you. What can you do? Who can you call? What can happen?
Yeah, well, I usually suck it out of one of the pens I have. Yeah. But let's say you don't even have that. You believe it or not, you can get a prescription for regular and you can get it regular and NPH insulin without a prescription, but you can't get the faster acting insulin. And
right, so you can always walk into a pharmacy and just buy regular insulin. It's going to be expensive, but that's something you can do kind of in desperation. A lot of times if you, let's say you're at a chain pharmacy, CVS, Rite Aid, whatever, they can transfer your prescription to a local one, and they can do kind of emergency refills for these travel things and stuff like that. So that's something to try. Always call your doctor, and if it really is an emergency, you can have your doctor paged to write a prescription to get your insulin. We love that when that happens, don't we?
yeah. A lot of my patients have my cell phone number, so I get the text, hey, I'm stuck here, could you call this in? And of course you're going to do it, but be prepared. And you know, you're right. I've broken mine too. Some of the floors in these hotels are like, you know, everything goes into shatters.
Funny. I've never broken a vial at home ever. I have hard floors. I've done it multiple times on vacation. It's so true that something's going to go wrong. It happens on vacation. And Steve wasn't joking earlier when he said, I've asked him multiple times, how many sensors, transmitters, blood sugar meters have you given me over the last years? I mean, just because you forget stuff.
Pain in the ass.
Yeah, I know. I'm the worst. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. And just, you know, this is, again, just to show us, you know, all the stuff we have to be, you know, Sherpas for our own diabetes. But make a list. Be prepared. Enjoy getting out there again, hopefully on some kind of fun trip. And you'll do great.
Yeah. The more you're prepared, the better you'll enjoy wherever you're going.
Yeah. So
trust me.
I think we should go hop on our plane now, right?
Okay. All right. Well, I'm ready for my flight.
Okay. All right. See you guys later.
All right. See ya.
Bye.